Autism and Asperger's syndrome. Historical context around World War I. Autism spectrum disorder, ASD, and what was once called Asperger's syndrome, now subsumed under ASD, were not formally recognized or diagnosed as distinct conditions until the mid-20th century. The term autism itself was first used in 1911 by Swiss psychiatrist Eugen Bleuler to describe a symptom of severe schizophrenia, referring to social withdrawal or self-absorption, rather than a standalone neurodevelopmental condition. This makes it challenging to discuss autism or Asperger's in the context of World War I, 1914-1918, as these labels are anachronistic, applied retrospectively to behaviors or traits observed in historical figures or populations. Before and during WWI, individuals exhibiting what we now recognize as autistic traits, e.g., social difficulties, repetitive behaviors, intense focus, sensory sensitivities, were often unlabeled, mislabeled as eccentric, feeble-minded, idiotic, or mentally defective, or grouped under broader categories like schizophrenia or intellectual disabilities. Retrospective analyses suggest such traits have existed throughout history, but without formal recognition, there were no targeted discussions, policies, or accommodations. Below, I'll address each part of your query based on historical evidence, noting where information is speculative or absent due to the era's lack of understanding. Condition of autism or Asperger's syndrome. Before World War I. Prior to WWI, there was no clinical concept of autism as a spectrum or neurodevelopmental condition. Behaviors now associated with autism, such as limited eye contact, repetitive actions, or difficulty with social norms, might have been observed but were typically attributed to moral failings, poor upbringing, or general insanity. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, individuals with severe traits were often institutionalized in asylums, labeled as imbeciles or idiots under emerging eugenics-influenced classifications, and sometimes sterilized or isolated from society. Milder traits, e.g., what might retrospectively be seen as Asperger's-like, could allow people to function as eccentrics in professions requiring intense focus, like academia or invention, without diagnosis. Historical analyses have speculated that figures like Isaac Newton or Thomas Jefferson exhibited such traits, but this is unprovable and based on modern interpretations. A notable early observation comes from American physician Samuel Gridley Howe in the 1840s, who documented children with traits resembling autism, e.g., social isolation, repetitive behaviors, during surveys of idiocy in Massachusetts, predating the Civil War. Discussions about autism or Asperger's at the time. There were virtually no specific discussions about autism as a distinct condition before WWI, as the concept didn't exist beyond Bleuler's 1911 usage in schizophrenia contexts. Broader conversations in psychiatry and eugenics focused on mental deficiency, or feeble-mindedness, often linking them to heredity and societal burdens. In Europe and the US, emerging fields like child psychology began noting peculiar behaviors in children, but these were not systematized. For instance, in the UK and Germany, debates around institutionalization and education for the mentally defective were common, influenced by social Darwinism, but not tied to autism specifically. The first detailed clinical descriptions came post-WWI. Russian psychiatrist Grunya Sukhareva in 1925-1926, describing schizoid psychopathy in children, akin to autism, followed by Hans Asperger in 1938 and Leo Kanner in 1943. Condition of autistic or Asperger's people who went to war. Since autism wasn't diagnosed, individuals with such traits likely served if their behaviors didn't raise red flags during recruitment. Those with severe impairments, e.g., nonverbal or intellectually disabled, might have been rejected as unfit or exempted, while those with milder traits, e.g., high-functioning but socially awkward, could enlist or be conscripted. Retrospective studies suggest some mentally defective soldiers served heroically, often in non-combat roles like labor battalions, but faced higher risks of execution for cowardice if their behaviors, e.g. shutdowns under stress, were misinterpreted. No direct accounts exist of autistic experiences, as the label didn't apply. How empires handled autism or Asperger's syndrome. No empire had policies for autism specifically, as it wasn't recognized. Handling fell under general categories of mental deficiency or war-induced neuropsychiatric issues like shell shock, now PTSD. Pre-existing developmental disorders were screened variably during conscription, with rejection for obvious cases. Empire handling of developmental disorders. Jock's mental health in WWI United Kingdom focused on shell shock. Over 80,000 cases treated, some with electric shock therapy or rest. Mentally defective recruits often exempted or in labor roles. Some executed for desertion if symptoms misread as cowardice. United States entered war late 1917. Screened for mental incompetency via IQ tests. Those with traits might be rejected or assigned non-combat duties. Post-war, Veterans Bureau handled psychiatric cases. German Empire treated over 600,000 nervous cases in hospitals. Used hypnosis, electric therapy. Pre-existing disorders led to exemption or labor. Eugenics influenced views on defectives. Republic of France similar to UK Germany. Shell shock, treated with faradic current, electric shocks. Developmental issues screened out. Focus on rapid return to duty. Ottoman Empire limited records. Mental health care rudimentary, influenced by European models. Likely exempted severe cases. No specific autism handling. Austria-Hungary psychiatric care decentralized. Treated war neuroses similarly to Germany. Eugenics views emerging. Defectives often rejected. Russian Empire monitored asylums amid unrest. Mental cases from war treated poorly due to resource shortages. Post-1917 revolution shifted to Soviet integration models. What happened in the trenches? No specific records of autistic experiences in trenches, but the environment, constant noise, chaos, social demands, would have been overwhelming for those with sensory sensitivities. Shell shock symptoms, tremors, mutism, overlapped with potential autistic meltdowns or shutdowns, leading to misdiagnosis. Some mentally defective soldiers served in trench labor, facing high casualties. Autistic or Asperger's individuals in code breaking in World War I. No documented or speculated autistic figures in WWI code breaking. Speculations about autism in code breaking typically refer to WWII, like Alan Turing and the Enigma machine. In WWI, code breaking, e.g. Room 40 in UK, involved mathematicians, but no retrospective autism links. What happened at the front or on the home front? At the front, as above, undiagnosed individuals might serve, with traits like hyperfocus aiding tasks, e.g. scouting, but social sensory issues hindering. On the home front, those exempted contributed to war production or farming. Children with traits faced similar unlabeled challenges. Post-war rising psychiatric awareness laid groundwork for later autism recognition. What occurred in the Russian Revolution, 1917. The revolution overlapped with WWI's Eastern Front. No direct autism links, but asylums were monitored for unrest, with disabled people sometimes caught in chaos. Post-revolution, early Soviet psychiatry, under Lenin, then Stalin, emphasized integration and education for disabilities, influencing Sukareva's 1925 work on autism-like traits. This contrasted with pre-revolution Tsarist neglect. What happened at the armistice? November 11, 1918. No specific records involving autistic individuals at the armistice. Celebrations and demobilization focused on physical psychiatric war wounds. Shell-shocked soldiers were prominent, but autism unrecognized. Retrospectively, some disabled veterans, including those with undiagnosed traits, faced poor support, contributing to interwar social changes. After WW1, understanding evolved slowly, with Sukareva's work in the USSR marking an early milestone. By the 1930s, 1940s, amid WW2 and Nazi eugenics, autism gained tragic attention, with Hans Asperger's clinic in Vienna involved in child euthanasia programs.